Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, welcome. I'm Kim Serafini. I am essentially the woman behind what is really the Mind Power Technology platform and the experience that we call a positive prime session. And I'm here to actually share with you essentially how do you create a positive prime session? Why would you do that? To what end? What benefit? What value? What advantage? And for whom? And I'm joined with me by a few people who have already been through that process rather successfully and who are very excited about all of the wonderful changes that are going on within our own organization for, essentially our corporate clients and so forth, including you. So hang in there because we're going to actually give you an extraordinary opportunity at the end to leverage this potential. And let's get going. I'm going to share my screen so that you can actually see what is a positive prime session. So essentially I'm actually in what is the current look and feel of our beta or trial business called Mind PT, but we're completely re-engineering, reimagining, recreating from the ground up, and we're making it so much more magnificent with lots of extra features that are actually precisely tailored for the professional who wants to leverage this particular neuroscience, positive psychology platform, this resource, this tool. So I'm going to play for you one of these sessions. It's called Brighter, Deeper and More Creative. No, it's actually called Bright, Deep and Creative Living by Kathleen Kinney, who's actually with us right now. Woo! So I'm going to press play and I'm going to quickly show you that what we actually do here, I'm going to just mute for a second. There we go. You can tell that I've been watching a previous session on speed 8. So I'm going to go back to speed 1. So what we do here at the headquarters and behind the scenes with our production and our creative community, our actual employees and consultants who work with us, is that we carefully curate over 800 absolutely precise and perfect images that are scientifically designed to positively prime the viewer. And in this case, the viewer could actually be somebody who's in your yoga class. It could be somebody who's on your retreat. It could be somebody who comes into your spa or salon. It could actually be someone in your team at work. And there are all of these reasons why those people could be viewers. They could actually be people who are sitting in an audience. They could be, quite frankly, people who have read your best-selling book or a book that you've actually just launched or you're about to launch. They could be people that you actually want to reinforce your coaching or mentoring messages with. There are actually immeasurable number of reasons why the person viewing this could be the person that you want to share your message with. So when you dive into exactly how and why, I'm just going to make sure that we mute everybody who has just joined us. Let me mute the people who are here. Fantastic, sorry. So each and every single one of these images is doing something in terms of a state change of the person who's viewing. And that state change is actually making them more resourceful, more creative. It's positively priming their mind. Their mirror neurons are being stimulated, messages are being sent to their hormonal system, their endocrine system is actually creating more serotonin, dopamine and oxytocin. We know from lots of different scientific studies that it actually causes the human being who's in the experience to become more effective, more efficient. They're more resourceful. They're actually much better at complex mental tasks. They are better at problem solving. They see more opportunities. They actually think of more solutions. They're more primed to actually be active. They're actually more social. They're more pro-social, which means they're more helpful. They're more kind. They're more caring. They're more thoughtful. They're more considerate. And all of this has been researched and proven. And in our science area, we can actually give you all of the background to that and everything else like that. So we choose images that are positively priming the person who's actually experiencing this session. And what we're doing is we're making sure that the lessons, the recommendations, the suggestions, the advice, the content, the actual content is delivered within a positive prime experience. And we know that that means they learn more faster, it's easier to recall, they remember more, and you can do comprehension tests and actually prove this, and it's been done. We know that it actually impacts implicit and explicit memory as well. And so it's interesting because you might read a lot of research like Sonia Lyubomirsky's research or Professor Kim Cameron's research, and you'll see that these positive practices do actually cause people to change in very empowering ways. But you might then wonder, well, does this actually do that? Is this one of those scientifically validated positive practices that actually bring about the desired outcome or the result or the change? And the truth is, the answer is yes. And so we do that with a proprietary formula. And as a company, we actually produce or create these sessions for clients, speakers, authors, therapists, team leaders, and so forth. For those people who don't yet know how I actually run the meetings or the company or anything else like that, I can actually tell you that I do start meetings by having, for example, I did one last week with our UX researcher. And I sat there in the beginning of the meeting and actually watched a positive prime session for 3 minutes, because do you know what? I want us to be peak performers in that very precious amount of time. Everybody's time is really valuable. We are all super busy, and we all need to actually extract the most we possibly can out of every single experience that we're going into. So I, for one, because I understand the science and why and how this works, I would never start a meeting without being positively primed. And I am the kind of leader who causes or requests or encourages or actually demands that we do positively prime ourselves prior to a meeting. It makes us think faster. It makes us clearer. It actually makes us develop more synapses. We actually are much more prone to come up with out of the box kind of thinking. And if you really want to understand how this works, understand what the positive prime effect is and how it relates to Dr. Barbara Fredrickson's broaden and build theory. So what we do as a company is essentially we curate, we acquire at least 800 unique images for each Mind PT or each positive prime session that we have created thus far. And interestingly enough, we actually have the commercial rights to allow our viewers or your viewers to actually use this tool or resource inside our environment. And I want you to know that it's a very, very subtle nuance, but it's absolutely about doing what is fair and reasonable and commercially viable, and what is also sensible and profitable. So each one of these images, if you actually had to go and buy it from a particular photo library yourself, you might actually spend quite a significant amount of money acquiring the 800 images that you would want inside your particular session. And people ask, so do you really need 800? Why can't you only do 400? Why don't you just start with 200? Well, because the truth is that you have around about 50,000 thoughts a day. And quite frankly, if the flavor of your thoughts are not necessarily perfectly positively primed, you're going to need to be flooded or overstimulated, as of course we understand from the fields of hypnosis and visual hypnosis. It's actually necessary to put you into a completely different state so you can absorb brand new content or information and so forth. And so the number of images that you have are actually really important. The other thing is that the actual statements that we essentially instruct you to create are all about what we know from appreciative inquiry and conversational intelligence and organizational behavior and change management and psychology and so forth. We know actually are physically necessary for you to experience enduring change that's really fast. So we're working with the viewer's identity. We're actually causing their brain to go off in search of evidence to actually prove to themselves that these statements that they're actually reading are true for them. And because we as human beings really want to be in alignment with our beliefs, What we actually do is we course correct in a very natural and organic way. So this is actually a change tool that allows an intrinsic motivation to actually arise, where if you're actually really thinking about Carol Dweck's fixed and malleable mindset work, what you actually know about the growth mindset is that we need to feel like we're in control as human beings of the changes that we really want to make. And this tool actually allows or facilitates that process rather elegantly. And each of the statements are very carefully written as well. So they're actually represented in really 5 broad themes. And we've got another little tutorial video that actually repeats some of these messages. So you might have some I am statements. And of course, as we know in the spiritual circles and from all that we've learned from the blending of ancient and modern science and wisdom and East and West philosophies, the I am is, of course, extremely powerful in the way that it actually guides us as human beings to behave. And so we have like, I am clever. And so what will happen is that I will actually live my life that's in alignment with that belief that I have about myself. And I'm actually more likely, it's probable that I will become more clever. I'll be clever. I'll think about, am I behaving in a way that's clever, or am I actually really behaving in an impulsive way that doesn't take into consideration all sorts of different factors? So there's 1,000 extremely minute ways that we actually course correct, we adjust ourselves so that we actually stay in alignment. When we're out of alignment, it's actually called cognitive dissonance. And I would actually recommend that if you don't understand what cognitive dissonance really is and how powerful it is, that you go and explore that. And so that particular process is manual. So we actually work with every single one of our clients who are creating one of these bespoke sessions, and we help them to actually write their I am statements. But you actually also need you are statements. So like, you are clever. Because as a little girl, if someone I admired and respected and I had an incredibly close connection with, or if I was in an intense, absolutely peak emotional state, if I was like super happy, those really heightened emotional states actually help us to bond with the actual messages that are coming to us. So if I'd have been very, very, very upset as a child, very, very, very angry, and someone said to me, you are a naughty girl, I would actually hear you and naughty, and I would very subconsciously and other than consciously and unconsciously actually live my life so that that belief is true. Because in fact, if I'm the opposite, I'm in cognitive dissonance. And the weird thing is that we behave in alignment with the beliefs that we have about ourselves and the world and the way it operates and everything else like that. So change is actually very difficult unless you actually change those core beliefs. But quite frankly, with today's technology, it's super simple and easy to do so. People think it's really hard to get over your limiting beliefs. It is so not anymore, right? Not anymore with a tool like this. People also think that it's a little bit like a rubber band. You can stretch yourself out, but actually after a period of time, you snap back to your old ways. That's actually not the truth anymore with what we understand about behavioral change and thought repertoire changes and the way that synapses work and neuroplasticity. Right, so to cut an extremely long story short, what we do is we manually create those 200 flashcards, and we actually put them in a very fancy special algorithm with 800 other images, and we show those 1,000 flashcards and we allow it to speed up or slow down. Now, when it speeds up, the truth is it actually, like visual hypnosis, goes into our other than consciousness, our unconscious. It's not subliminal. I hope I never hear anybody who's associated with us in a professional sense ever talk about a session being a subliminal experience. It is not. Subliminal actually means that you're not aware of what you're seeing. You're absolutely acknowledging what you're seeing. You're wide awake. You're alive. You're alert when you're watching a session. Your brain is positively primed. You're not missing a thing. Now, if you believe Dr. Paul Shealy, you're actually taking in 11 million bits of information per second, and all that stimuli is actually going in. And you're actually, because of your reticular activating system and your own goals, you're focusing in on 40 bits of that information. But the question is, where does the other 10,900,900, okay, you can do the math, minus 40, 11 million minus 40. It's going somewhere. Where is it going? You know what? It's actually all going in. And so sometimes people behave when they're under intense pressure in bizarre ways, but it's usually because their other than consciousness process the 11 million bits of information per second that was actually flying at them. Now, of course, there are lots of other processes about getting really clear on who you are and what it is that you really want and why and what's important to you and what your values are, and really defining the direction that you're heading in and the future that you actually want to experience. All of that's really important because it's about how you actually help your reticular activating system, or your RAS in your brainstem, to actually see the 40 bits of information that are important or necessary or potent or real or et cetera, et cetera. So, in short, we as a company actually offer, in a commercial sense, the opportunity for people to either make money from one of these sessions, or indeed to use it to actually raise their profile and reinforce their messages so that the audience can actually recall what it is that they're learning and are much more likely then to apply. So the reality is that I actually can see we are going to have millions of these sessions created for all sorts of people. Very rarely will we have somebody who actually wants it to be publicly published on our store, in our shop, so that other people can buy it. We've created these sessions for clients like, and I'll give you an example. One is actually our state government, and our state government actually has a process that helps small businesses with small business issues and change and preparing themselves for rapidly changing environments. And I think it's actually called something like Fit for Change. Let me just go and see. So naturally, this is not actually available in our store. People can't buy it because actually all that happened was that the government actually gave the instructions to people who are in small business and said to them through their various different agencies, download the app, and when you create your account, there's an opportunity for you to put in a referral code, or in the actual settings area or your profile area inside the app, you can actually enter a referral code. So we actually create specific referral codes that are unique to a particular session and the audience, and they're not publicly published, and there's all sorts of agreements that you won't do that. And someone can actually use the referral code and access or be gifted or given that particular piece of content. And so in this particular case, we made sure we curated very specific photos that relate to small businesses in the state of Queensland, in the country Australia. And we can do that for any client. We can actually customize, we can tailor, we can do whatever is necessary. And we just charge basically a custom, like a premium on top of our normal production cost. And so people come to us, and for them to actually really leverage our intellectual property, our proprietary formula, the algorithms, our platform, the ability for them to have a commercial product that they can sell, we think that there's incredible value in that. It's cost us over $1 million US, actually real hard personal actual cash, to create what we've currently got, and it's costing us a lot more to rebuild and restructure and, you know, relaunch what we've got. But the truth is that if we were to charge a business $5,000 for having an extraordinary resource that actually positively primes an audience, I think that's a very fair price. And I actually have clients who then come back and say, and I'll give you an example, there's one corporate client who was having a conference and just wanted one piece of resource, like one piece of content that was playing on the big screens, and they wanted it in the breakout times during their annual conference with all of their senior executives. And this particular company, for those of you who have Swedish, oh, should I show it to you? They make food. And so all of the images we actually had to custom create and find, and they actually gave us a whole heap that were actually about the manufacturing process, their actual production processes inside their organization. So maybe I shouldn't show you that one. The other ideas that we have, let's call it Serafini Mind Spa. So I'm sure that you all know I run a retreat in Australia and also in Bali, but actually Bali is where I like to do these exquisite retreats in paradise, and I'm doing 4 in 2019. So what I might do is I might actually create a particular session that I can give to everybody who's inquiring about the retreat, and they can actually watch it and see if it's something that looks like they want to do it. What's even better is that the people who've been to a retreat with me in Bali, blessing out, at what we call Serafini Mind Spa in our beautiful little boutique resort, they actually have this as a gift that they watch when they leave. And what we know about emotional conditioning and contagion is that when you actually see the images here, if you've experienced them, you're actually going to link the physiological experiences that were associated with the health benefits that were of that retreat. So the reality is that your brain is so amazing that if you actually had a massage and you had all of the physiological benefits, the actual benefits of that massage, when you see images of a massage, your brain actually sends messages and you think of the relaxation response, and you can actually have your body in a very natural and organic way re-experience. It's absolutely fascinating. I will tell you there is this TV show in Australia that we call Australian Story. It's on Sunday nights. It's like 60 Minutes in the United States. And we've just had Prince Harry and his beautiful new wife, Meghan, here in Australia for something called Invictus Games. And Invictus Games is essentially, I want you to imagine, like the Olympic Games, but for people who are in the armed forces who have basically sustained some kind of injury, mentally, emotionally, or physically. And they're all there playing their sports, and the games is actually an international serious games. I mean, it really is, but it's not about the sports. It's about, it's not about them getting better at the sport that they're competing in. It's actually about them getting better. Anyway, why am I even telling you about the Invictus Games? I can't even remember. I can now. So anyway, we were watching this TV show where they were actually featuring the stories of some real Australians, like they do, real Olympians, you know, who they are, what their motivation is, what the story was about how they were injured. And what's really interesting is that one of these special forces, ex-commandos who crashed in a helicopter, actually came on and said that before the Invictus Games, because there were all of the nation's armed forces invited to this huge international sporting meet, of course, there were going to be people from Afghanistan. And so what they actually showed people who'd been on, Australians, armed force personnel who'd been on tour in Afghanistan, was they actually showed them flashcards about Afghanis. And it's actually a process about desensitizing. And what's fascinating is actually in our proprietary formula, most people don't understand this, we have this aspect of associative conditioning. So if you'll bear with me for a couple of seconds, I'll explain to you. Your brain might see 16 flashcards. And let's just say one of your triggers could have been the mountainscape in Afghanistan. And maybe that's actually going to trigger you in a negative or disempowering way. Well, if you see that image next to puppy dog and you love dogs, you're actually going to merge and mix the energy associated with the puppy dog over with that image of those Afghan mountains. Next time you press play when you're watching one of these sessions, we actually reshuffle all the cards. And so they're randomized. And the next time you watch it when you're online, you're going to see those images in a different sequence, which means that you actually get to see images that trigger you before or after different kinds of images or words or statements that are going to cause your brain to create new neural connections in fire in different ways. It's an extraordinary process of neuroplasticity. And what's fascinating is that your brain will take 16 frames and it'll actually almost create like a median, like an average. It doesn't actually specifically focus on all 16. It focuses on like the blended feeling and experience of those 16, the general message. So For somebody who might have a trigger, and there could be 1,000 different triggers, the truth is, if it's placed inside one of these sessions, we can actually facilitate a healing and curing and caring process around that. Of course, every new thing that we do requires repetition. So I could go a lot more into that, and you could actually read a lot more about it, Google it and so forth, and we have some extra resources. And so what I would dare say is that if you've got a message, and you must have a message that you want to share with the world, like you must, if you're a coach, you must be giving, or a mentor, you must be giving your clients, these precious, gorgeous human beings who come to you for help, you must be giving them great advice, wonderful wisdom, amazing suggestions and recommendations. But we know for a fact that they're going to forget them, most of what they hear from you. But if you have those statements inside a session, and they can actually watch that session every day for 30 days whilst they're in this relationship with you, it's like you're here with them 24/7 on their shoulder, giving them wonderful, enthusiastic, encouraging feedback and points to focus on. Why wouldn't that be just amazing? It would be absolutely amazing. We'd all be so much more successful as people who facilitate change, right? So I could go on and on and on and on and on about this, but I would love to hear who else has something that they would like to add. So if you're here, can you just raise your hand? Kathleen, I would love to hear from you if possible. Patty, I'd love to hear from you if possible. In fact, Patty, why don't we start with you first? And I am going to actually grab your session, which is called The Mosaic Effect. And when you come out and share, will you please just tell us a little bit about who you are, what is the intention of your session, who's the audience, what was the process like in terms of creating it, and how you're actually going to use it, leverage it, utilize it, and why. So is that all? I've just unmuted you, Patty, and here's your beautiful session. Oh, can't hear you. I did unmute you, but I still can't hear you.
Okay, there. Can you hear me now?
We can.
Right. Okay, so what you're watching now is a session called The Mosaic Effect, and that's the name of my business. And what triggered the name and this whole idea and the flashes of images that you see here is I believe that we really can create a much better world when we share our unique gifts and talents with each other and beyond. So you'll notice in these images that it's very, well, everything is optimistic in every session of Mind PT, but global awareness, global connection is something that's really valuable to me. So I wanted to infuse that into some of these images and help people to realize that each person has that kind of unique power that they can bring. So my audience was probably focused on women, but also especially that global connection. The process of creating it was really, really a special experience for me because it helped me to embody something that I already believed in, that I gave a name to, that I was working with in my business in this series of images and statements. And I found it to be not only meaningful, but it helped me to feel that kind of special connection with what I was actually sharing myself. As far as how would people utilize it and how do I utilize it in my business, my intention is for people to really feel that they have that kind of gift or talent that they can bring to the world, and to feel that this session opens them up to a desire to discover it, or even an aha moment of what they might have for a gift and talent that they had left forgotten over the years of their lives. So how does that sound, Kim?
That sounds awesome, Patty. And do you gift the session or do you include it in your coaching programs? How do you normally share it?
That's a really good question. What I like to do is gift it to people. If I talk about it, one of the things I feel like I haven't written another sort of book, and I do have some other content that I give away, but this is something I feel stands out from other things that other people give, and it's very effective. So with those 2 points together, it's unique, unusual, and it's effective. It's also just the right thing to give. My session is about your gifts and talents, and it originally stemmed from the idea of giving of our gifts and talents. So if this is something that I've created that came from me, giving it is just what I like to do.
Yeah, wow, I love that. Patty, if you were to go into an organization as you do and actually suggest to them that they create their own session, do you believe that there are 2 different pathways? Like there are professionals that we have who just want a session, who don't really want to explain to their audience exactly how and why it works from a neuroscience and positive psychology and change management perspective. They actually just want a tool or a resource. But when you're going into an organization and you're actually suggesting that they create their own bespoke version for their own change management program or culture program or, you know, training and development program or induction program, what do you actually say to them?
They're very different tracks, admittedly. So when a professional just wants to use it with their clientele, use any number of the sessions that are there, or even an individual who wants to use it and go forward with it after I've shown them mine, they can go back into the store and they can purchase other ones that also they have something that they'd like to work on. So I really do. I often present both modules to people, that the power comes from watching the sessions every day, and what if you have a business of your own, you could spread your message by creating your own session as well. I find that the light bulb goes on really quickly for people when I say, what would it be like if you put your message out into the world through something like this? Can you see that? Can you see what that would be like? It typically gathers quite a positive response. So I do like to do both.
Thank you so much, Patty, for sharing. And I'm very happy to announce to everybody that Patty Krummer and I actually met around about 3 years ago. We've had an extraordinary journey over the last 2.5 years. And interestingly enough, she's actually now officially what we call an authorized consultant with Mind Power Technology to leverage the platform in actually helping us to do positive prime programs in institutions, educational settings, corporate environments, and with other professionals. I am just so delighted that Patty is a part of our team, and I really feel like I've got a great partner who believes very passionately in what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're doing it. And what I love most about her role is that she's actually a real business consultant who's actually leveraged this for herself in her own business, and she is actually just as committed as I am to really understanding the science and the why and the how and teaching and explaining all of that. So thanks, Patty, for that. Is there anybody else who wants to explain? Because just before I bring somebody else out, you may have noticed in Patty's sessions, you can see photographs of mine. In every single one of our sessions, when somebody actually purchases a session, they actually also purchase the ability to personalize their session, so they can upload their own personal photographs and write their own, say, goal statements. If there is actually like a little post-it note that you have that is a special affirmation just for you, or you have an instruction, like you want to actually hold yourself accountable to the commitment that you've made to yourself. So that's like me and my mum right there. So what we know is that engagement actually increases when everything is personalized. And so we encourage our users to personalize their sessions once they've actually purchased them. And we do encourage people to actually write their own goal statements in there, because it is a way of actually keeping it top of mind. I mean, it's extremely effective. So I will exit out of this one, and perhaps Kathleen, would you like to say something? I'm just going to unmute you here for a second. Or can I? Oh, no, hang on. There we go.
There,
I can hear that.
Okay. Hi. Well, it seemed like when I first started coaching that a lot of the women that I was working with were discouraged and depressed, and in the Northwest here, they were possibly suffering from gray weather and rain and needing to get out of kind of a funk. And so live brighter, deeper, more creatively is the theme of my session. And what I personally have noticed with myself and my husband and my clients is that that's exactly the reaction they get to the session, is that I also am a creativity coach, and so that's what the creativity is in there, in that I believe creativity is just one of the most magnificent healing forces, energetic forces we can tap in our lives. And so that's one thing I really encourage people to find their own creativity. And what I've learned is they do get inspired by seeing the images that are connected with creativity. And let me see, what I found was interesting myself was when I first started watching Mind PT on a regular basis, I was not having the mood swings and darkness of coping with gray winters, and that it has not come back, is that I don't have that winter depression. And I know that a lot of the people that I work with have the same thing. When they watch Mind PT and my session, they do live brighter and happier. So there's within my session are encouragements on all levels of life, and some of them are subtle and some less so. But what I feel is that it's just energizing. And that's what my purpose was, that people would connect with an energetic, life-loving spirit and be connected to themselves and the kind of energy where they can live a bright and deep and creative life.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
And you know what, Kathleen, I can say this about you and about 99% of our beautiful professionals who are all certified masters who've actually included this in their coaching practice or their therapy practice. You've all got these magnificent souls, and you're all trailblazers. You're incredibly curious about what's new. You're innovative, you're out there on the leading edge, and you are brave and courageous about exploring new and fabulous ways or tools or resources for your clients. And you're gorgeous, and you are continuing to learn, and you're an absolute inspiration, you know, really and truly. And I love you deeply. And I'm just going to say, when we had that little conversation a couple of months ago about how you had noticed that you had basically slipped in your practice, you weren't positively priming yourself every single day like you had been for about a year or so, and you actually saw some kind of change in yourself, and then you thought, wow, why am I feeling sad or frustrated or disappointed, and I'm watching too much news? And then you actually started watching again, didn't you?
I did. And politically, I mean, we all know that these are difficult times, and that we have to protect ourselves from the negativity. And so, I mean, I watch it. I'm back to watching it every day. I watch it first thing in the morning, and that's my practice. And I do have other things I do also, but it changes my worldview completely. And I really love the beautiful pictures that produce awe, you know, and that really works for me in lifting my spirits and putting me in a feeling of actually feeling like I'm in nature, and that I travel to those different places. And I think these images are so perfect for someone that has maybe a limited exposure. I live on an island, and so it's what I've noticed about the people on the island that I share it with. They also feel more connected.
Yeah, wow, I love that. There is a secret mission that's not so secret now that I'm on in terms of diversity and inclusion. So in our formula, we are absolutely adamant that there must be an equal number of people from all over the world representing all faiths, all religions, all spiritual orientations, all corners of this wonderful world, all types of cultural expressions, all types of genders and ages and ethnicities and so forth. It is part of my mission to effectively do what the Australian military were doing for their special forces people who returned injured, in terms of desensitizing them to triggers that could otherwise cause episodes that are unhealthy and disempowering. So I think that we can actually do exactly the opposite. We can trigger more empowering, more enriching, healthier reactions from everybody in the world if we can get them to look at a fabulous image like that and just realize that we are one of billions of people on this planet, and we get to actually make a really fabulous contribution in meaningful ways to greater numbers of people. And our impact, our individual impact, is important. We all have a really powerful role to play with just a small step by ourselves, you know. So thanks so much for that, Kathleen. I'm just wondering, who else do we have here? I think we have Bruce Barnes, who's also near you. Bruce, would you like to unmute yourself, and I'll actually find your session. And will you tell us a little bit about you and your story and the journey you've been on in your life and why you love your session? And I'm just going to get you to say your session so that I can actually find it easily, because you can see we've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of sessions we have created.
Actualize your full potential.
Here we go. Actualize your full potential. I'm getting there. Bear with me.
Up a little bit, I think.
Keep going and I'll find it, because I saw it just the other day.
Yeah. Actualize your full potential has been my tagline for my Barnes Unlimited business for a long time, and I was looking for some way to kind of, I guess, put emphasis more on that and helping people to actualize their full potential. And that's when I just kind of came across, Margaret introduced me to Mind PT, and we got to talking, and I thought, this is going to be a really cool platform. And so my focus on the session was for images showing people being successful, but also including images of people helping kids. And I had the different affirmation statements that I came up with kind of went that way as well. But so I've been just kind of sharing that with different people on that. So I'm getting more into I'm developing some other workshops and presentations now on that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to be including giving this to the participants and that as well. But it was really kind of fun, like what Patty was saying. It was kind of a fun experience going through and coming up with the different affirmation statements, but also kind of the different images for my branding of the session and that. So so it's really neat. And I'm going to be putting together another one. I think I've got an idea on my next one and that, but it's really fascinating. I'll be talking with somebody who belongs to my local Chamber of Commerce, and I'll mention some of this, and I'll bring it up on my phone, and even at the high speed, they're amazed at how fast or how much you can still pick up. You don't necessarily read every word on there, but you pick up the key points and that. So they were really kind of fascinated with that. So, I'm really looking forward to the rebranding of the new platform and that. So.
Okay, and so to that point, Bruce, thank you, because I just want to also pick up on something that Kathleen said. we are going to offer a bonus to everybody who orders their own session. And we're actually got a little bit of an a la carte menu for our professionals who want something for a commercial purpose, something for an organizational purpose, or anything with a small group of people, or where you actually want something for someone else rather than something for yourself. So we actually call that really our professional or our corporate and commercial division of our company. And so there are lots of people who just want a session. And if we go into a corporate environment and we actually charge for the consulting associated with one of those, it's actually $5,000. And our authorized consultants are actually legitimately allowed to, or given permission to, go and sell that to a corporate buyer. And we actually do a revenue split. So they are really licensed, if you will, to be able to represent me or us as a company and offer somebody else the opportunity to actually create their own session for their own needs. And that person acts as the consultant that guides them through the process and actually works with us as a team. So anyway, I was thinking about what we could do prior to our big pre-launch, and we could make it really, really affordable. And I then thought we need to limit it, because the reality is that we want a very special price, but we can't keep it open forever, simply because we actually have to pay for new software engineers and new global marketing strategies and everything else like that. And so if we were to actually offer it at $350 US, I think that that is flippin' amazing. Now, of course, it will still attract the annual fee. So in a year's time, at the end of 2019, in order to keep your session in play, available to people, there'll be an annual fee that actually will kick in for 2020. And our annual fee for just a session that actually leverages the platform will be $97, just basically $100 for just a session. We will actually have a different price, which means that if you want your session on our actual store and you want us to promote it, and you want us to actually feature it as something that other people can pay for, we will add an extra $100 to that annual fee. And that really is so that together we are both motivated, you motivated in selling it as well, and actually having other people buy it. The reality is that we've got hundreds of thousands of people who come and have a look at our store, and it's going to actually be a lot more appealing, and we're doing a lot more broad work as we rebrand into Positive Prime. So the truth is that we want to make it affordable and very attractive, and then we want to give a special bonus. So for the first 100 people who actually order, they can actually receive 3 coaching sessions with me one-on-one, and they can either have it once a week for 3 weeks, or they can have it once a month for 3 months. They must have had their first session by the end of January 2019. So somebody could actually purchase this package at $350 right now and receive that bonus if they're in the first 100. And they don't actually have to have their coaching session like next week. They could have it by the end of January, and they could have one a month. What is fascinating to me is that I have actually been personally mentoring now over the last 2 or 3 years. It'd be close to 100 individuals who actually want to become best-selling authors. And given that I became a best-selling author over a decade ago, and considering I have amazing friends like Christine Coulson, I think that we have some wisdom to share about how to shortcut the process. I also believe that there are amazing coaches out there who actually want to rise up out of that cloistered environment behind closed doors, where they're actually doing therapies or treatments or sessions one-on-one, appointments. And what they actually want to do is workshops for greater numbers of people, or they actually want to speak onto tele-summits, but they're actually going to need to build a profile and what in the industry of publishing they actually call a platform. Not to be confused with Mind Power Technologies software platform. People need to have a following, they need to have people on their email database. So what I actually really want to be able to do is start to develop an agency that is actually going to do that for people, create their websites, create their social media presences, drive traffic to that so that they can actually allow themselves to be in the limelight and to shine. Because one of the amazing things that I've noticed is great therapists, great coaches, great speakers are often great with respect to their content, but they're not awesome at marketing themselves and making sure that they've actually got leads that they can process so that they have actual clients. So that's one of the actual growth areas. But what we found is that some people need to actually do a little bit by a little bit, a little bit by a little bit. And so they just want a session to get started with, just a little session, and not the whole big blown package that we have, where you can actually have your own, what we call in the industry, a white label app, where it's actually going to be the new Positive Prime app. And inside that new app, there's actually really your branding instead of the general branding for the general public and for, you know, this mass movement. But you could have your own little thing. And one of the reasons why is, and I want to give you an example, we have a company who actually created a session, and they had all of their brand new employees in their induction process actually watching this particular session. It was about the culture of the organization, the language of the organization, some keywords that are fundamental to the way that there are ways of operating or ways of working inside that corporation. And interestingly enough, they didn't want their employees in this induction process to actually access hundreds of other sessions that were in our store. And inside the app, they didn't want that in-app advertising that suggests or recommends other sessions to their employees. They wanted basically this airtight little container where their people watched their session inside an app that was absolutely tailored, specific, private, secure for just their employees. And so we came up with the idea about how to replicate or duplicate, how to create a mirror of the mass Positive Prime, the new app, and how to do it here inside a corporate environment. In the process, we actually have a higher level where you become essentially a certified master with us. So you could be a coach. And that's actually at a bit of a different level. Of course, there is an additional upgrade or part of the bespoke and, you know, the a la carte menu for paying for each individual extra aspect. So if I'm a coach, and indeed I am, and I actually suggest to somebody like you, Bruce or Donna, that I want you to watch my session as part of my program inside my actual relationship with you about the changes that you're making. Well, interestingly enough, I could actually go on your word as to whether you're watching it or not, but wouldn't it be better if I could go into my own little management panel and I could actually see who my clients are and what sessions they're actually watching and how long they watch them for, and I can actually look and see, are they doing 3 minutes a day every single day? And so that entire part of our program is a whole incredible upgrade and is going to be available to therapists and coaches. And inbuilt into the system is actually the client's permission to actually track their progress and measure the outcomes. And for that particular user, they'll actually open up and they'll actually rate how they feel prior to watching a session, and they'll rate how they feel after the session, and you'll actually see if there's an improvement. And there are various other aspects that we're actually building into the new platform. But I really wanted to take this time just to talk about just a session and the reasons why people want just a session. And they're actually willing to share their session inside the general or mass Positive Prime environment and not inside their own bespoke app. Or we actually have something else that's in the menu, which is you could have your session appear on your website. But that's an upgrade and that's an additional feature, and that actually creates a different opportunity for all sorts of different clients. And that's a whole other piece of software engineering with open APIs, and it means that we can integrate into learning management systems and corporate environments and so forth. So is there anybody else who wants to actually say something now or ask a question? Donna, do you have something that you want to add? Or Nancy, is there anybody who wants to say something super quick and upbeat? Okay, perfect. I'll unmute you there, Donna. Where are we going? Unmute, please. Okay, unmute. Ah, there we go. Okay, go. Can't hear you though. Go, Donna. Can't hear you at all. Patty, not if you can hear Donna.
Hello, Patty.
Oh, there you go. Donna, now we can hear you. And I'm going to go and have a look at your session, shall I?
Okay. Well, as a holistic nurse, you know, working with clients in every area, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual well-being, relationships, but drawing from my own personal experience in all the areas that I'm interested in. One area that I'm passionate about is caring for the caregiver, caring for the self. And although the original concept was for caring for personally as a family member.
I just need you to speak up a little bit, Donna. I'm so sorry. I think some of us are having a really hard time hearing you.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
That's a little bit better.
Okay. So what I was saying is that as a holistic nurse, I have so many areas in which I can help people as they're trying to help themselves in their holistic, healing journey and day to day and their goals. But I'm very passionate about caregivers caring for themselves, whether they're personal caregivers or professional caregivers. And as I did the session, I realized that it was incorporating all that I have learned personally in both of those roles, and how I couldn't wait to just watch this for myself. If no one else watched it, I was excited that I would get it for myself every day. But it has been very helpful to the people that I have shared it with. And I, in fact, now am, as of yesterday, started writing my book, which is specifically about caring for the caregiver. And so I'm very excited to have this avenue as well for people to be able to experience when they're reading it, to help incorporate that. So, and it's not just for caregivers of people, it's people who care for animals, who care for the planet, activists. So it's not just parents or spouses, or it's pretty broad. It can be very broad.
And Donna, thank goodness there are exquisite human beings like you on the planet, because you are exceptional. I think you've had nearly 6 decades as a really accomplished, respected, admired teacher of other nurses, manager. And I just know that the wisdom that's in your session is actually needed for everybody. And I do watch it because as a leader, I'm actually caring for not only the people who are in my organization, or caring for all of you as professionals, or in fact caring for family members. Yeah. I didn't ever really identify myself as a carer. I definitely know I'm a healer and I'm a therapist and I'm a speaker, but you know what? Your session reminds me I'm a carer, and it actually gets me into a kinder, more compassionate, much more patient space. And it does give me permission to go and do what I want and need to do to make sure that I put my own oxygen mask on first, as the analogy would have. And so it's really an important message. And the reason why I love what we're doing, so essentially as a company that actually produces sessions for others, is that I've realized there are so many remarkable people with so much experience about life that we can all benefit from. And so I love it that we have your session in our library and available to the public. So thank you. Is there anybody else who wants opportunity? Oh, pleasure, Del. Is there anybody else who wants to ask any questions? If you actually want one of these sessions, I'm going to tell you about the special extended offer that we will offer only to those people who place their order before the end of November. So we have a special bonus of 3 coaching sessions with me. That is actually valued at about $900 because my average coaching is $300 an hour. And so I often allocate in my schedule a couple of, let's call them opportunities each week, where I can actually do some coaching that is like $40 for 40 minutes. And I offer that to people, and usually I only ever allow them to book 3 at that rate and never again. But it's for those people who don't yet know whether they want to be on retreat with me, or, in some kind of mastermind with me, or some kind of high level, business executive coaching. But anyway, there is something that we have that I really want everybody to help promote, and it's called Daily Positive Priming as a new program. And everybody who actually orders a session is going to actually receive the program, which is called Daily Positive Priming. Now, what is that program? Well, essentially in your library, you will see one session title called Daily Positive Priming. What we do in the background is every single day, we actually attach or tag, if you will, a different session so that that's the session that shows for that 24-hour period. And then we manually change it to a completely different topical subject in the next 24-hour period. And we have over 400 sessions. So we have one every single day, and we're actually creating them at a faster pace than we could possibly show them. And so in the Daily Positive Priming program, what we're actually intending is for the entire universe to watch that particular session first every single day. It will actually give them fresh content. It will give them something brand new to think about that maybe they wouldn't have ordinarily exposed themselves to or chosen in their own library. See, there are lots of people who think, oh, I really want to focus on abundance and prosperity and my financial independence and making money and, you know, being successful in business from a profitable standpoint. But what they don't understand is that if they don't watch sessions about becoming fitter and healthier and happier and looking after their well-being, they can't possibly be the kind of human being who's operating in the right kind of way that shows up, being brighter and giving themselves the best chance to actually do what is necessary to earn more money or increase their income or whatever other outcome. It's like people who really want to attract their soulmate or be in a really delicious relationship like the one that I am very lucky to enjoy. But I had to become an entirely different new person in order for me to be ready and open to that kind of experience in my life with my soulmate. And so watching sessions that are on relationships isn't enough. I needed to watch, you know, a session that was about transcending trauma from Dr. Diane Shelton, or watch another session that was about healing the grief that I've experienced in my life, maybe because I've been disappointed or had my heart broken before, that actually I wouldn't have exposed myself to because I was so focused on maybe romance and intimacy. So I might buy that particular session, romance and intimacy, but the truth is that I actually know that hundreds of thousands of our Positive Prime account holders, our users, our audience, they actually do need to see different sessions in order to like crack them open so that they're much more expanded and they've got access to content that's really rich. Then they can choose to actually add 2 sessions in a subscription to their library every single month. So it's like our monthly membership. You get to watch something every single day that's fresh and unique, and then you get to choose 2 sessions that you want. In addition to that, just for this particular program, in 2019, we are going to add what we call really a themed mix. So I'm going to tell you a really interesting secret. Some of you already know this. I create sessions that are for my own private use, that I choose 5 sessions and I actually put them into one. And in the back end, of course, because I've got access to the way that our algorithms actually work in terms of the complex way that we make one of these things. So I might see Donna's, and I might also see Bruce's, and I might also see Dina Proctor's, and I might also see Kathy Fettke's and Christine Carlson's, and I want to see all 5 of those sessions actually mixed and merged. And I'm very happy to sit when I'm waiting for a meeting, you know, maybe I'm going to the doctor's or I'm at the hairdresser's and I've got 30 minutes and I can actually enjoy, but I don't want to watch just one session. I want to watch 5 sessions that are basically in together in a theme. So we'll have a relationship theme, we'll have a success theme, a money theme, a fitness theme, a general well-being theme. And so the Daily Positive Priming program is actually going to give one of those mixes every single month for 12 months. So you'll get 12 themed mixes as well. And we will be launching that program to the market, and it will be $365 or $1 a day. So basically it'll be around about $365 up front for 12 months, or it'll be $36.50 per month on subscription, and we'll basically do a huge launch of that at the end of January. That's the plan and that's our intention. That's what we're working towards. But I do want every single one of our professionals to actually be watching that Daily Positive Prime every single day and it's really so that they can actually see all of these other magnificent colleagues that we have and see their sessions and their content. And it actually will help to upskill us all. It will help us to raise the bar for each and every single one of us together. And we can be awesome role models, and it's actually something that we can very easily promote and recommend, and it's a flow. Anyway, so we're going to simplify and make sure that we've got a greater flow. So I'm going to include that for every single person who orders their session between now and the end of November at $350 US. Every single one of those orders needs to be placed manually through Mayumi. So we're not going to have an automated process, even though she has created an exceptional new website. So shall I actually see what that website is? And then we will head out of here, because I really wanted this to be under 90 minutes. Positiveprime.com, I think /session. Let's look. I hope I've got that right. Of course, because we're on Zoom, my internet is in very, very slow. All right, so positiveprime.com /session. Let's see. I do want to make this point because lots of people ask me, is a session like an MP3? No, it's not. It's not an MP3 file, right? It's not this little file like an audio that you can actually put inside a website. It's its own container, it's its own technology, it's its own software platform. It's not an MP4, it's not a video, right? It's not a PDF, it's not an ebook. It's something so much more advanced than that, and it's really unique. And it's actually the ability for it to personalize and speed up and slow down and reshuffle, and it's all of that inside the player that makes it work. And any one of those pieces or ingredients we took out of the formula, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't scientifically work. All right, so here we go. Create your own session. Oh, look at this. I love Mayumi. She is just remarkable with what she creates for me. I say, Dylan, we need a website page that actually just features sessions only. And look at this. She's gone and created one. My internet's so slow it hasn't loaded though. But let's see if it goes up here and it actually does say, oh, sorry, I'm going way too fast. I think it actually has the price on there. And I will have to put the bonuses on there, I'm sure. So I don't know yet how we're actually going to market this, but feel free to tell anybody. I would say if you really care about another, author or speaker or coach or therapist, like this is crazy cheap as a first step. And this is just the first step. Okay, so can you see that? Wait, my internet's going way too slow. I think it's because I'm down under. But I cannot thank you so enough for being here on a Sunday evening if you're in North America, Canada, and for those people who are here in Australia, thank you, thank you, thank you. We have recorded this, and I'm pretty sure we'll be doing it again before the end of November, and I'm pretty sure we will have more questions and more people. But I have to limit it because we only actually have a certain number of people on staff in production who can actually facilitate these. And the point is, the minute we receive an order is the minute we can get started on it, and we can actually have it completed and delivered to you inside 10 days if you're early enough in the production schedule. If you're late to the party, it might have blown out to 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. But anyway, if you want to double check that before you place your order, just get in touch with us via email. So is there anything else, or do you just want to hang out?
This is Bruce. Just a quick question on the new sessions. Are they going to be just in the Positive Prime environment, or are they going to be on the Mind PT, or how is that going to work?
Okay, so Mind PT will actually be packaged as Positive Prime. So Mind PT is actually being phased out, and Positive Prime is being phased in. Will it first be on Mind PT first, or? Your new sessions will be included absolutely on the Mind PT platform until the Positive Prime platform is actually launched, and then it will be inside the Positive Prime platform. In this particular offer, it does include being featured in our shop, unless, of course, you say to us, I don't want it available to the public. I actually just want it for my personal clients, or I just want it for my employees, or I just want it for my network marketing team members, okay? So you don't have to have it on our store if you don't want to. And if it's not appropriate and it's, not acceptable either, then we won't do that. What you're asking about, Bruce, is that we actually had a pre-order in like a private crowdfunding environment that allowed people to actually get the entire new professional package, which is valued at nearly $50,000 for less than $5,000, which is our special offer. We will be actually doing an upgrade. So people who have purchased this opportunity and secured their session at $350, they will be able to upgrade and have their own bespoke app, right? But it will be at an additional cost. And they will also be able to have their own session inside their own website at an additional cost. There'll be a la carte options, and we'll actually do some very special pre-launch promotional opportunities with some bonuses for those two extra options. And then if there are certified masters who want to upgrade as authorized consultants and actually act on behalf of us in the corporate direction that we're heading in 2019, that's actually a much higher level program. And if there are people who have just a session and they're not yet a part of our actual certified masters community and they actually want the training, we'll also provide that. We do actually have other people who just want to be an affiliate, and we call them advocates or ambassadors. And quite frankly, we haven't created a custom session for them for their own commercial purposes. They just want to promote what we currently have because they want to be a part of our community and they want to help us to grow. So I think depending upon each and every person's individual requirements, we have a consultation and we figure out what's best for that person at this particular time. Does that make sense? But yes, Bruce, your new session that you actually received as part of your crowdfunding pre-order will actually be included in the store and in the general mass offering, as well as inside your own bespoke app. Awesome, huh? And Patty can tell you that she's actually seen the design process underway and all of the new features and functions. We've also got a new rewards program that is going to be available. People will either use it or they won't. But essentially, when they watch a session, they'll receive a certain number of points and they'll actually translate into coupons. When they've actually got a certain number of points, there'll be a rewards and recognition program, and they'll be able to be cashed in for all sorts of things, Amazon gift cards and coaching with me. And, you know, there's a huge program that we're doing around psychological compliance with respect to change management as well, and the new tracking and measurement. So we are so excited, but it is such a massive undertaking. Like, what we're doing really is very innovative and groundbreaking and sometimes extremely scary. But Brené Brown is a little bit like my hero or Shiro at the moment, and she's helping me to dare greatly and be courageous and go beyond. And I'm excited, and I just thank you for all of the contributions that you're all making as well, because we really, truly do need all of our professionals to actually promote their sessions and help us to actually grow our community and expand and increase the numbers and do so as quickly as possible. So that's me for today. Love you. I'm out. Ciao. Looking forward to hearing from you very soon if you would like. I'm very happy to have an appointment with you. And guess what? I'm about to go on vacation in Bali so I can set up for the retreats next year. So if you go to Serafini Mind Spa and you actually see that this month we're launching the early bird for the retreats for Bali next year, and you know anybody who's got that on their bucket list, I will tell you there's going to be a special professionals price, and those people who have their own session will have their own app or an authorized consultant or a certified master. There's actually a special price that is like the early bird price with a special payment plan. And one of the 4 weeks next year, we're actually going to put a little ring around and say, that's actually our professional week. And we're all going to join there together, essentially at cost price. So it's not like me running a retreat and making any money and there's no margins in it and everything else like that. So you can go and have a look at Serafini Mind Spa and look at the Bali. But I'm off tomorrow to actually go and double check everything and prepare everything and have a massage and drink a cocktail and laugh with my beloved, and, you know, generally replenish my soul and connect in with that energy and make sure that I stay harmonious whilst I go through this massive change program between Mind PT and Positive Prime. Alrighty. So love you all. Thank you. See you. Ciao.